Some dementia residents enter dementia units and they can still read and write, and they're very important skills to maintain, both for focus and cognition, and also concentration and confidence. At least to be able to read one's own name is important, because to find your room in a dementia unit, I mean, it can be up to 30 rooms in a dementia unit, 30 names. So you have to be able to work out which door's yours. So you need to be able to recognise and read your own name. Also for menus and what you're having for lunch, breakfast and dinner, you can read that up on the blackboard at the kitchen, if you can read. If you get cards sent for birthdays and Christmases from a friend, then you can read those, and also the headlines in the newspaper and magazines, even if you're not reading the full article. And of course subtitles and Netflix, etc. It's all important reading. Some people, some relatives sometimes think, oh, the person's not reading, so we won't get prescription glasses. Well, they may not be reading books, of course, they're complicated and complex to follow the storyline with a poor memory, but at least to be able to read your own name and to read the menu and to read your name on your room, especially to get to your room. These are really important reading skills that you need to maintain. If you lose those and you lose the ability to be able to read your name at least and find your room, that's an incredible disadvantage in a dementia unit. And more now, reading actually is becoming important, because it's important, but also it's valuable. It helps quality of life, because, for example, now many dementia units have smart TVs, and with that the fabulous subtitles in big letters at the bottom. Now, for the golden oldie karaoke singing, that's fantastic when they can actually read the, Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do. They can read the subtitles, which helps their cognition and engagement. And of course they can tap into past memory of their famous favourite song. And then of course they can link in with the group in the singing of the song. Everyone knows Daisy, Daisy in New Zealand, if not all the words, at least the chorus, and you can join in and have fun at the same time. So that's how multi-cognitive processes are really valuable. A multiple input is really valuable cognitively for dementia residents, coming from all, angles, because then if they can read the song up on the screen, if they can tap into past memory, link into that, and then of course listen to the people singing at the same time, then it floods the senses and the cognition, so to speak. So there's more likelihood of there being activation of the cognition and being able to get that thinking going, because otherwise, if there's little input, lack of input, low level input, it's not enough to be able to stimulate them, to be able to activate. Now, another way that reading is very helpful is it actually helps word usage for dementia residents, I've noticed that those residents that read are much better in terms of saying the right word at the right time. Even if they have difficulty with speech, even if there's some stuttering and stammering at times, even if there's mixed word usage and confusion at other times, but sometimes they get it. And when they do, if it's pithy and on point, then people will wake up to the fact that they're understanding. And that's very important, to be able to understand that dementia residents are understanding, because then we'll, it helps respect and value, and it gives you, it takes you take the person more seriously, of course, when you know that they're understanding you. And with my work with dementia residents, this came to the fore more and more the more I worked with them. There were two ladies in particular I worked with. One was a sportswoman. She'd been a very highly achieving sportswoman all her day, with tennis and swimming and golf and you name it. And she read, she was shy, she was introvert, she was very modest, and she didn't like a fuss, for sure. and she didn't like you to speak about her achievements in public at all. And I sort of learnt this the hard way when I did once or twice say that she was a good sportswoman, and she shut down and didn't speak to me for about 2 weeks. But when I first realised that she understood well was actually one day we were in her room, and I'd been helping her with direction orientation for her to find her room. She really had problems with that, lots of confusion, and we had to practice this going to and from the room, reading the name, reading the number, finding the room, which took weeks of practice. We finally achieved it. But in that process, we were in the room having a rest, and she hadn't really spoken to me much up to that point. She'd been very quiet, reserved, and, you know, yes, no, thank you, but not anything conversationally, you know, insightful, so to speak. But anyway, how I found out that she could think and understand, and she had an astute intellect, was we were in her room and she had a picture of New Zealand up on the wall. Beautiful picture of New Zealand. She loved New Zealand. She loved the coast. She'd travelled a lot. She'd lived on a farm. And she was looking at New Zealand, and so was I. And I was saying, oh, New Zealand's amazing, isn't it? You know, at the bottom of the world, how we are down here, you know, I think we're the closest to the South Pole, except for the southern tip of South America. New Zealand is the closest point, especially down in Christchurch where we live, to the Antarctic, to the South Pole. And she said, yes, it's good to see that we're still functioning. And I thought, wow, amazing, good to see we're still functioning indeed. So from that point on, I realised that she was astute, and we had a good relationship after that. She taught me many things. So all these points and more in the 2 books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, both on Amazon and my website, link below. Please subscribe, and thank you for your interest.